today's Black Book session, we're hanging out with Lobo of KBC. He tells us about how he got into graffiti, what the hip hop scene was like in the South Bronx early 90s, reflects on his legacy, and what it means to leave your mark on the world.
Well, I grew up in the Bronx, right? In the early 90s, I saw hip hop, right? And I just looked out my window and I got to see T Kid 176 and Tracy 168 painting a mural right across the street from my window.
Right?
And I'm only like 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I see all these people watching. I'm like, yo, what's that? What's that? Oh my God. That was it. I got the bug. Because before that, I was into what you were doing, like the comic book illustration.
Mm-hmm.
I used to follow my uncles. They were all mechanics and they all had comic books. So I was always drawing and doodling. And then I seen that shit and I was like, oh man, it's a wrap. After that, I got the bug. I wanted the fame. But yeah, no, we just took whatever we had. Like to this day, I just like to work in black and white.
Right.
Cause like that's all my mother could afford when I was a kid. She'd buy me a composition notebook for $1, a marker lot, and a Sharpie. So to this day, most of my drawings are just in black and white.
All right. Well, we've got the book here. Why don't you just flip to a page so that the people who might be watching this on
Alright.
video can see something, and then I'll just follow up with that. So, like, was the hip hop music in the air at the time?
Oh
too?
yeah,
Cause I'm thinking like DJ Cool Herc, like, that's like mid '80s.
yeah,
And so you're about my age, so you would have been really young when that was just
Yeah.
popping off. So
Well,
it would have been like the scene would have been kind of on and popping with the break-in and.
oh yeah. No, matter of fact, where I'm originally from is called Kingsbridge,
Okay.
and there's a street called Sedgwick Avenue, right?
Okay.
And if you do the whole history, they have Cedric and Cedar is the first park where Kool Herc and them had their jams back in the 70s. So growing up, you always hear that, like, oh yeah, that's where the first hip hop jams are, right down there. And
Right.
Cedric and Cedar, right by the highway. So, yeah, no, pretty much I got to view all that. And then my uncle was a DJ. He still DJs to this day. He's in Florida. He does like weddings and everything now. But when I was a kid, I seen the 1200s and the Gemini mixer. And I just got to sit there and just watching everybody DJ. And then I had a whole bunch of friends breakdancing.
And
So you got to see everything, especially growing up in the Bronx. So I saw everything.
Is that before you saw the pieces going down?
Oh,
in
yeah.
the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a little kid and I see my uncles DJing. I got two uncles that actually DJ, but one of them actually does like weddings and everything now to this day. But when I was a kid, he had 4 techniques, big Gemini mixer, and he just all day, and I'll be 4 or 5 years old just there watching it, you know? So
Yeah.
I got to experience all that.
And then would that be like juggling and like doing breaks and like doing the whole 9 yards? Yeah.
Mixing blends, doing blends, and I don't know. Growing up in New York in the '80s, cause I'm a loud key kid.
Mm-hmm.
Both my parents worked.
Right.
My grandmother used to watch us, but after 5 o'clock, she sent me and my sister off to our own apartment because we lived in the same building complex. And pretty much, the street is your backyard,
Yeah.
you know. So I was mostly out, probably from like 9, 10 years old. I was out on the street,
Right.
just running around, freaking climbing on short buildings and hanging out on rooftops and everything. Pretty much what I fell in love with graph, you know. Some people fall in love with the streets. Some people fall in love with selling drugs, the
Okay,
money,
yeah.
everything. I seen all that too, but I was always an artist. So
All right. Well, let's. You were telling me that the pieces that you got in here, you were like picking a different element for each one, or you thinking like natural elements, or
no, what I was trying to do in this book,
yeah.
I was just trying to do different outlines, right? But have everything look consistent that you could tell I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more like blocky, old school style. And then each one has a little bit of difference to them. And they're different styles. but you could still but you could still see the consistency that I did it. You know, and like I want people to see it. When they see it, like, oh yeah, they know that's a Lobo piece. They could see it from a block away,
For sure.
and they could be like, oh, that's a Lobo piece. You know, I guess like that's what everybody wants. You know, they be like, oh man, yeah, drive down the road, bang, that's a Lobo piece.
Now you said you're down with the comics.
Yeah,
The character Lobo from DC.
yeah, Simon Bisley.
Was that in your mind when you
What?
locked in on the name Lobo?
Actually, I had an older cousin of mine, right?
Right.
And it's like the same thing with the comic books and everything.
Yeah.
So one day, I was fooling around, and I had another name at the time. And I was just drawing all the Lobo, Superman, all the DC comic book things, and he was like, "That's it. Your name is Lobo." I'm probably like 11 years old. So everywhere I went, he introduced me. It's like, "Oh, who's that? Yo, that's my little cousin. That's Lobo." And then he's like, "You can't let nobody know on the street what your real name is." So it's like a alter personality, you know. You can't let nobody know you Gil.
Right.
You know, and it took me this long. If you see my Instagram the last few years, I go by my real name now. So I put like an abbreviation to my real name, but it was always like you can't let nobody know your real name in the street, and then you can't let nobody know outside of the street that you did graffiti and your name was Lobo. So it was always like you was living two different lives. It was crazy. So when I went to work, I'm Gil, but nobody knew I did graffiti. And then when I'm in the street, everybody just knows me as Lobo, and nobody knew my real name. And it went as far that I had friends that I went to elementary school with that they forgot my real name.
Right. Right.
Because Lobo's traveled with me for the last like almost 30 years, since 92. That name's just been traveling with me. So I got friends from elementary school. They, damn man, I forgot your real name. And I know these people for 30 years, and they know me as Lobo.
So that kind of just came out of just the street culture more than the graph culture
Yeah.
for you.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, yeah, if you don't want to get pinched by the cops, like it does make sense to like have some anonymity, right?
Yeah.
So how big is that? Like, because I've always kind of been like an outsider looking in on the graffiti world, and it always seemed to me that like, yeah, not getting caught and getting like pinned up with big charges for like, oh, look at these 100 pieces, we have documented evidence on you, and da da da.
Yeah.
And now we know that you're the guy. Like,
Oh, well, it's crazy because out in New York, you got to get caught in the act.
okay.
Yeah, so what they do is that they try to catch people and then they build cases on them.
Got you.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate that that's never happened to me, you know, but I do have a lot of friends that, you know, once they did get busted, you could just deny it. And they can't hit you or anything. They can be like, oh, we have this, we have that, we have this, but they got to catch you in the actual physical act. So there's been times like we painted legal walls and they're watching us.
Right.
And then when we was done, a couple of my friends, they got chased down. And then they found them with like stickers or some kind of fucking marker, and then they got sent to the bookings and they charged them with like graffiti utensil.
Oh,
And they
man.
try to build these cases on them, trying to make them all afraid, but you got to get caught in the act of actual, like, committing the crime.
Right.
So,
It's like show me your papers. Where it's just like they come up with one little thing to pull you over,
Yeah.
and they try and throw something else your way. Like, man, the one story I have about that is I got a buddy, Ides One. He's like real sick, but he got busted and they gave him community service. And my dad happened to be the manager of the community center in our town, so he had him as his community service put burners up all in the bathroom. He made the whole bathroom into one fat piece.
Oh, nice.
Onto the stalls and everything. So I thought that was kind of a cool way, because my dad's an artist, but he's like, he doesn't think graffiti's a crime.
Yeah.
My dad goes out with his camera for like last 20 years. He takes pictures. Like he's got a whole photo album of just cool pieces, and he's just an old dude, just like he likes it, he takes a picture of it and documents it. So that's my good buddy. Like he ended up doing his community service, doing more graffiti. And then I guess that's the other thing too. What do you think about graffiti culture versus like the street art scene that we see popping up these days? Like,
yeah.
seems kind of like different worlds.
Well, I don't know. I guess there's going to be a certain point, like everybody wants to make some money off of what they do.
Right.
You know, so
Can't
like
do
I
that.
said, I've been doing this pretty much all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm 11, 12 years old. And now I'm in my 40s. So now I'm trying to make the transition. Like I had like Julia
Mm-hmm.
from Epitome Gallery, like, oh, let's do a show. And in my mind, it's like, oh man, I can't do a show. I'm a writer. So I'm still trying to have that idea, like, oh, I'm an artist now.
Right.
You know, so I don't knock nobody's hustle. If somebody wants to make money off of their art, why not? But at the end of the day, I feel like they need to put in the work regardless.
Got you. Yeah.
So I can support everybody, but if somebody's doing a show and they ain't never put no time in the street, you know, there's always that thought in my mind like, oh, he ain't never really put in no work. You know, he's just trying to make money off of our culture. You know, and I say it's our culture because it's pretty much a culture like created by kids. There's a whole bunch of kids running around trying to get fame, and you know, like you said, some of them was breakdancing, some of them was rapping, some of them was freaking DJing and graph. You know, so I respect the people that put in the years and years and years and painting in the street, and now they're able to make $1 off it. I support them. You know.
That's what it seems is like. There's like a culture like coming out of the hip hop culture, the graffiti culture, and there's like rules to the road and different like
Elements.
levels of respect and like
Yeah.
different things that you gotta know if you're actually in on the scene. And then it seems like maybe half of the people who are really blowing up in the street art world went that route, where they were writing, they were putting up pieces on the streets,
Yeah.
and then got into doing murals and touring the world. And then also, I'm thinking of all the folks that I'm really into who got into like vinyl toys early on.
Oh yeah, like Coles. Yeah, if you look at Coles, right? Back in the '90s, he was doing those telephone, the telephone boxes. He'll open the telephone box, take the poster out, paint his logo on it, put them back.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so those things were floating all over the city.
That's yeah.
And
that's
now-
guerrilla marketing.
Yeah. And now he has the freaking Moon Man on the MTV Awards.
Hell
You
yeah.
know, so and he went from being like a street artist, you know, from doing graph. Because I remember he was doing pieces with Coke. And then my father used to work in Linden, New Jersey, so we used to go down to Jersey, and on the billboards, in the back of the billboards, you used to see the causes. And now I was like, look at him, he's a freaking, that dude put in the work. I respect that shit.
Yeah, because most of the folks that I know, I like learned because I was in art school over at Humboldt State in the art department, trying to be a fine art painter, working on canvases, and then looking in Juxtapose magazine.
Yeah,
So the folks who are in there who are real big, like like Saber,
Yeah.
and like what's his name, Shepard Fairey.
Mhm.
Like he's someone who really like took it. I think he was one of the first people to really bring it. Well, before like Fab Five Freddy back
Oh,
in the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
But like who really brought it mainstream was like guys like Shepard Fairey, Mike Giant, like But those two didn't really do the vinyl toys, but I see people like Dalek.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing I see them now, all of those heads like Bobby Hundreds and all these guys getting into the NFTs.
Oh, yeah.
That's another one where like I don't knock another person's hustle because it seems like the people who have the business savvy to like they got into vinyl toys first, they got into like merchandise and fashion, and now they're getting into like NFTs, digital art, and like it seems like there are some people who have both, right?
Yeah.
They're like passionate about the art, but they also they're not going to hold themselves back from a business opportunity. Whereas I sit back a lot of times and try and be super moral and think, oh no, I can't make that move because that goes against what I believe in.
Yeah.
But then you get a little older and you're like, well, if I could do my art and have the time and money to just do only my art as a living, hell yeah, I would do that, So, like you said, we can't hate the hustle.
Yeah.
So let's slow down a little bit on some of these pieces. I
You
want to
want
make
me to
sure.
go back on them?
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're taking the time to like maybe zoom in on just one or two of these pieces, and you could tell us a little bit more about it. And this is also a good chance for me to make sure that we got things dialed in. We're talking about how this is kind of like our test run for how these might go
Yes, sir.
in
Yes,
the
sir.
future. And I want to make sure it looks real good. So that one's super legible. I think
Mhm.
that's another thing we could talk about. So putting your name up is there some benefit to like making your stuff more abstract? You were talking about how to make it really be in your style.
Yeah.
So like for you, what would you say are the elements that you put into each piece? Like when you look back at this, like what do you think stands out as like your specialty?
Well, it's crazy. Like when I was younger, I wanted everything to look mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was more sharp. More the letters were kind of thinner. It was less like make it look more aggressive. And as I get older, I focus more on the letters.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want people to see it from a distance and be like, all right, that's a Lobo piece. Like somebody could step back and be like, all right, there he goes, another one.
So are your shapes like more dynamic? Like you're not trying to just keep it thin, or you're going fat to thin. You're just doing whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like every time I draw or I paint, I really just go on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever I'm thinking right there in the spot. And most of the time I start in the middle. So I'll start with my B and my O, and I'll work my way out when I'm sketching. I don't know why I do it like that. I just find it easier to do it like that to try to get it even on the page. But
like maybe you don't want it to be symmetrical, but you want it to be balanced.
balance, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key.
Right.
It's like the foundation. You know, just have make sure everything looks even.
Mm-hmm.
And then the older I get, like the more cleaner I want it to look. Before I used to kind of rush through things. And now I'm like, I was telling a friend of mine last night, he did somebody's book. And now I was like, where's the background to it? He was like, oh yeah. And I said, bro, every time you put out a book, like that's a representation. Like this is me. So if it's gonna be a book or a wall, like I'm battling. You know, it's a friendly battle.
Right.
You know, but in my mind, you know, like I wanted to be the best work that I could put out at that time in that moment. Sometimes it's frustrating.
Well, let's pause on one of these pieces too, and like,
all right.
You can tell us about the materials. So you got some of your favorite weapons of choice right here.
Yeah,
this is what you take into the Black Book battle.
All right, so
black and white. So
this is black and white.
Yeah.
I don't like using pencil.
Okay.
Because pencil leaves a groove on the page. So I always use like just one of these kind of Copic kind of style markers to sketch most of the time. Black Sharpie. And one of these gel pens to cut back on the lines and make it look clean. That's pretty much it. But when I do black books, I don't know if you've seen the Yoda one I did from my buddy. I went full color on that joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like I did the Lobo when it looks like the airplane that crashed in Star Wars.
Okay.
So the spaceship
right.
crashed, and then I did the Yoda in the tree. You know.
So it seems like you got a pretty clean style. Is that safe to say? Like you keep
like
your lines real clean.
Well, if you've seen the last piece I did before I put the splash behind it, I could have left it like that. It looked almost like a sticker. Everybody was like, "Damn, the thing, no border. What kind of force field you gonna put around there?" I was like, "I don't know if I even need one."
Yeah.
It looked like I could just take the corner of my piece and just peel it off the wall.
Yeah, I'm thinking like as far as like flexing your skills, it seems like you got the ability to keep it real tight and clean.
And I paint fast, and I think that's from painting and doing like illegal pieces. It's back, like I said, in the late '90s and 2000s, I was painting a lot with my buddy Seymour. We was painting in the Amtraks and in the Metro North tracks, and that's like our free walls, or like whatever little cut that we could actually do burners. Cause I was bombing too as well, doing throw-ups everywhere, but my whole thing is doing burners. And we only have a few hours to try to do these burners. And like, this is the same thing. Like, police could run up on us, bums, other riders. There's been situations like other riders trying to run up on us. Or you just meet random people on the tracks. So, to this day, if you seen like when we was painting, I was bullshitting most of the time. I was having conversation here, having conversation there, up and down the wall the whole time.
Yeah.
And I still was able to like finish my piece faster than a lot of people. And they're like, "Damn, your shit was fucking shit is done."
That was pretty fun. So that is kind of a sanctioned art wall where people all kind of given permission, so we didn't have to like be in and out. Everyone could take their time. What was that experience like? You're kind of giving us a taste for what it was like
Well,
Is that new to be doing a wall like as like a mural project like that?
no, I done mural projects. Like I painted like Meeting of Styles, Under Pressure, all those like hip hop
Yeah.
events.
Oh, yeah.
I done those kind of shows before, and as I get older, like I just want to meet people.
Right.
Cause the whole thing about doing graffiti before is like you had your core group of people, and that was it. Those are like your foot soldiers around you. All right. I ain't gonna mess with this guy. Mess with that guy. It was always like had to be guarded. It was almost like I had to protect myself. You know, we had to protect our little group. And now I'm in my 40s. I'm like fuck it. I want to go talk to everybody. You know, back in the days, somebody be like, "Oh, why you painting with that guy? He tall and this bullshit and that bullshit." I don't even fall into no politics no more.
Right.
You know, I just want to fucking experience, get to know people, just paint.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good experience.
What can you tell us about like Meeting of Styles or any of those kind of bigger events? Like, what's
Oh,
the
man,
vibe like,
when-
and how do you get in on that? And tell us like specifically where were you at? Like,
So when I went to Under Pressure, that was in about 2001, 2002, and it's based out in Canada.
okay.
Over there, man, they gave us free paint. They gave us these wristbands that had punch outs for different restaurants. That thing was like a real graffiti jam for like a week long. And that was like an experience, like, oh damn, fuck, you see everybody DJing. We had freaking barriers all around us. It was a totally different experience. And then there's times like they have the Boone Avenue in the Bronx. There's like every major crew has their own sections. It's pretty much the same thing. It's almost like it's a battle, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's painting. But yeah, I feel like what she's doing over here with that wall, it's a good experience so like the younger people could see what we doing. And they
The whole
could,
town.
yeah, like the whole
People
town.
coming by honking their horns.
Recording us.
Yeah.
You know, back in the days I would hide my face. Now I'm like, oh man, I'm out in the open. I'm still getting used to that. Doing this, I'm getting used to this right now. Just talking about my experience.
I've been all nerded out on this like computer side of things from the minute I got into it, and it can be a distraction, you know.
Yeah.
Now you're not just trying to do art. You got to make sure your audio's right. You got to be doing the cameras, and I wish we had more documentary like filmmakers coming around and documenting it. Because every now and then like a book will drop. It's just got like stuff going back, you know. People just these photographers who were there at the scene and like knew what was going on, like taking snapshots. It's like gold to me when I see like the history. I feel like we could go for hours too. Like every single little thing that you've said, we could dig in deeper and like. So as an interviewer, I'm like, how much ground do we want to cover and how much do we want to hone in on? Because taking it back to your time in Canada, like you got artists from all over the world there, or
Oh yeah, no,
Canada,
yeah.
like yeah.
And Meeting of Styles, I did it with my boy Kilo PT, and we used to paint together in another crew, and the same thing. They gave us free paint. They gave us a section on the wall, and it's just like you just meeting people, you know. And I think that's a good experience to meet people and see different things from around the world, so you just don't get pigeonholed. Like, all right, this is my style, and that's it. I'm the best. And there's always a lot of ego like that, but now I'm just like, I just want to meet people, share my art. Well, I guess it's art now, you know. I'm still getting used to that transaction of calling it art, because for a long time I had in my mind that I'm a writer, you know, and ain't nobody supposed to know who I am.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
the whole thing of like, do artists really want to be famous, or they just want money for paint? You know what I'm saying? Like if you could have the money without the fame, I think most people would choose that. Like if you had to pick one or the other, you could pass on the fame. But it seems like the two are connected. That somehow you have to, build an audience or whatever it is. And I think that's what's so cool. Like the whole thing of getting your name up around your own particular city or getting out to other cities. It is it's not to be famous, but it is to like leave your mark on the world.
Yeah.
And every artist, that's why you do. You have to be like, are you gonna have a manifesto of like why am I an artist? What do I really believe in? I think,
Yeah.
like, for me, when I think about it, I do want to leave a mark on the world. So, okay, everyone's going to watch this.
Yeah.
We can have you throw down a piece right here. That's
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah, no, we can still talk on bullshit. Like, fucking, I don't know. I still don't consider myself an artist. I know people always tell me, oh man, yo, you're a badass fucking artist. You do this, you do that. But I always had that mentality in my mind that I'm a writer at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I never feel accomplished. And I guess that's why people paint so hard. You know, like people want to fulfill something in their mind. They want to accomplish something in their life. And I respect those kind of people that do it, that go out every night and they fucking put their life on jeopardy. And they fucking paint and they do this and they do that. Me, I can't do that. I got kids, you know.
That
My
changes things.
my kids come before me. But at the same time, it's like, oh man, yo, freak! I remember when I was 20 and I lived through people now.
Vicarious.
Yeah. I just seen there's a kid that passed away around here, and then they seen the George Lopez billboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little youngster painted that from around here, and I was like, oh shit, God, that's fucking badass. Like I wish I could have done that shit, you know?
I know. I hollered at you about that. 'Cause
Yeah.
You flipped me some sick videos of some Bay Area heads.
Oh yeah.
And then that was how I answered back to you, was about that piece, because it hit me, because I was driving to work one morning and I saw that thing right on top of that billboard, and then when I went to work going on 101 North,
Yeah.
the next morning they had not just buffed out the letters, they just blacked out the whole billboard. There was no clean way to like just cover up the bottom half, so they just went over the whole thing. And then here's a crazy idea. What if they had, instead of trying to put up a cheesy ass billboard, what if someone actually painted a mural on there, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of how the cities are trying to, there is still like an anti-graffiti mentality, and I think the way that they're trying to make the middle ground is to bring in all these murals to the town.
Yeah.
Because whether you're a writer and you think you're an artist, you still have a respect for other art, right? So like it seems like people don't tend to go over a mural like on a wall. It's like it seems like once you put the mural, people kind of respect it and leave it alone. Like,
Well, it's nice out here.
yeah,
There's like murals all up and down Broadway. And there's
Right.
all these beautiful paintings, you know.
I think it's every city in the world is trying to get artists to come to their town, and which is crazy, because that's my whole thing, and that's why I'm kind of on the like underground side of things.
Yeah.
I don't think art belongs just in a museum
Yeah.
with white walls and stuffy ass collectors and like, you know, rich people going to auctions. That's not the world I want to live in. I want art on the streets. I want to go to art parties. I want us to have a fucking warehouse where we can just jam out every single night if we want to, you know? That's kind of like my big dream would be to somehow get a space that can just be an art factory for whoever wants to come kick it.
Why not, right?
Yeah, and so
Like
how do
what?
I do that? So that's where it gets into like, how do I market my art and my whole style in a way that I get to do my thing, and we can kind of come together as like an art community and just do more cool shit, right? Like, so I'm not in it for the fame, but I want the opportunity, right? We want the opportunity to do dope shit.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to maybe compromise on our, we don't have, you know, my idea that like, oh, commercial art is sellout art. It's like, no, I'll do graphic designs. I'll do logos. I'll do whatever it takes, you know. And actually you do get some pride. If you do a logo and it goes out on a product
Mm-hmm.
and they make thousands and thousands of them, it's maybe not the same joy as like, you know, putting your own name out there, but it gives you some satisfaction that something you made is out in the world, you know. I can talk about this stuff. I've got my own
go for
philosophy,
it.
and I think we all should. Every creative person, you gotta have something special to make you want to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no one that puts a gun to your head and says, "Hey, you've got to pick up a pen and get creative," right? Somehow you find it.
I don't know, the whole art world thing, like I'm still trying to get used to it. I'm just like still trying to, like I said, like, you know, I moved to Humboldt 9 years ago, and I spent a lot of time in the woods, and just changing my whole way of living. And that made me like, even just going to the store, I get like shell shocked around people. You know, and I think it's like with graph too, it's like I said, for a long time, you ain't supposed to let nobody know that you do this. Is this quiet thing. And now that I'm getting older, you putting yourself out there, and then people want to judge your work when before you ain't really give a shit. And I was like, oh man, I want to produce the best work, and then that kind of fucking pressure, and then like you said, you want to leave your mark for your kids, and then what your kids are gonna grow up and be like, oh yo, look what my fucking dad did.
Mm-hmm.
He fucking painted with people all around the world. And that's one thing out here. I had met so many other people from different countries. That was shocking, you know. They just out here working, and it's like, oh man, yo, I do graffiti. Oh yeah, I've done painting with people from Spain, Italy, fucking Australia that I met out here in Humboldt.
Right, they come around for the trim jobs,
Yeah.
and some of them never leave.
Yeah,
There's also all the people who came up here to go to the college,
and
then they never left either. So
you gotta excuse me. You know, like I said, I'm still trying to get used to all this exposure, right? Would you consider this exposure?
oh yeah, we're gonna get some people to watch this for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's the beginning stages. So my whole jam with Defiant Creative is also about like the fact that I spent time as a teacher. And like you said, like I kind of vicariously can get things out through my students, right? So it's like, imagine, I like to imagine that the skills that I'm teaching other people, maybe they're going to be the one to go make a big splash with it, you know?
Oh yeah.
So everything that we're doing and talking about, it's like we're time capsules for the lives that we've lived, but you never know who's going to watch it and how they might get inspired, right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to cut you off with that. I've been pretty much doing the same thing recently.
Yeah.
Like somebody's been reaching out to me, and I've been trying to get him the ropes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, like it's different nowadays. When I was coming up and people were teaching me, man, they were hard on me. They was like, oh, that's trash, this, that. I'll go to the wall, help them buff the wall, prime the wall, learn everything. And I wouldn't even paint my name on the wall. It was just like all like boot camp. And now, I don't know, it's a different generation. You know, you gotta.
Yeah, the discipline, man. Like,
Yeah.
I think of it like a Shaolin monk, you know. So,
Yeah.
like, if you want a good master to teach you the ways, you're gonna have to carry buckets of water up the hill for a while. First.
Oh yeah, for a while. And they used to tell me too. That was like, I used to be like, yo, when am I gonna paint on the wall? Cause they were doing legal murals and stuff. And it's like, yo, you gotta put your name out on the street first. We ain't just gonna put your name like, I'd like you down with us, but you gotta put a name for yourself first. And then that was it. So once I went and met my boy Seema, I started painting a lot, just piecing everywhere. And we was doing illegal pieces too, from here and there. We was like, oh man, we want to do some illegal pieces. So,
Yeah.
whatever you want to know. Oh, yo, what you want me to call you on here? Mungo or the?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that my name Mungo is out there, and I'm always trying to like push that. And then Defiant
It's the group.
the brand that I've started. Yeah, I want it to be a collective. Originally, it was called the Defiant Collective.
Yeah.
Until I got defiantcreative.com, and I thought, oh, that's much better. So that's what I'm pushing is. I'm way nerdy into the software, so everything you see at Defiant Creative is something that I built by hand. You know, I wrote the code. All the artwork is basically just family. You know.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What is your whole thing with this right here? You know, like you said earlier, you want to do one, like you did one about hip-hop before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to break down, are you going to introduce each element in these videos? Are you going to do like one video just about somebody's career in rapping, one video about b-boying, DJing? Like what's your whole...
Yeah, like this is just good to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And we're kind of touching on everything. And
You see, you wasn't
I'm
expecting
kinda,
that, right?
I'm kind of no, but the thing is, one of my little like rules that I've had for myself is
Yeah.
to try and do it independent on the software side.
Yeah.
So I'm not someone who sees YouTube and goes, "Oh my gosh, this is so great." I'm like, "Hey, how do we get a bunch of fools together and make our own YouTube?"
Yeah.
I'm not impressed by Facebook or any of the Instagram. I'm not impressed by it because I know we could build the same thing, and so that's been like my whole mission. So that said, I'm also gonna have to like make sure that I'm meeting people where they're at.
Yeah.
So that means I do want to put this up on the YouTube channel and on my own platform, and I think reaching out to more artists, getting more interviews in the future, we can help like make a spot where people can have fun and we can launch cool ideas, and it's like. It takes a village to like raise us up. We gotta raise ourselves up.
You see, like, people don't realize, like, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff is a networking tool. A lot of people fall into it every day, putting the selfies and doing all that kind of shit. I fall into that shit sometimes myself.
Right.
But, like, it's a distraction sometimes, Like, fucking, but at the end of the day, it's a networking tool. Like, people need to realize, like, you could, like you said, you could communicate with all these artists.
Right.
Through fucking Instagram. I can go, like right now, like I said, I got a buddy from out here going to Spain. I hit up my boy through Instagram that I painted with out here that lives in Spain, and I connected them. So I networking those two guys together. It's crazy.
It's the same thing of like, are you gonna set a rule that's gonna like limit your options? And
Yeah.
It's probably not a good idea, right? So I spent a lot of time kind of just being underground, doing my own thing because I didn't want to feed into the beast.
Yeah.
Because really, I want to take the beast down. It's like a juggernaut, and like it kind of exploits us for like data. We're making some investors millions of dollars with all of our attention.
Oh yeah, with the ads
like,
and everything.
Yeah, so but I can't have such a chip on my shoulder that I'm gonna like miss out on where all the people are at. So it's like I skipped all of that until about a year ago. I refused to use Instagram until I realized like I wasn't using Facebook, I wasn't using Instagram. Like, how am I getting myself out there? It's been a lot more rewarding to like go out and do live art on the plaza and just like get to know people in town. I feel like I'm getting more traction doing that. And so I think what we can do is kind of create our own little sub-network, right? We're not going to have the full reach of all those big platforms, but I want to have a little platform where we're all artists who are networking, knowing why we're networking. So like you said, a lot of people are out there just to take a picture of their breakfast. And
that's it.
They're not invested in it like I am. Like the only reason I'm on there is to like get creative, meet other people who want to be creative and get productive.
I can't even be on Facebook anymore, to be honest with you.
That's the good spot for the family photos, keeping in touch with your aunties and your uncles. But it's like, I feel like it's tough because we're fighting against that to try and, where you're trying to use it as a professional networking tool, but not everyone's on that level. Not everyone's using it that way. So that's kind of where I come in. I think we need to document just for for history's sake. And also something that is inside us that makes us want to create. I know there's other like-minded people, and that we got a lot of power. We can leverage our ability to like come up with new ideas and change the world. Like I really think creativity and art is the thing that's going to make a better world for our kids in the future. And we can we can do a lot if we kind of get together and do it. You know what I mean? But I think it's got to become slick. We got to have the video editing. We got to do have the good microphones, and that all takes time and effort and money. So it's like it's always a process, right? Part of the process is doing the media now, right? So I'm all in on that. I can tell you my history too. It's like I've been doing it for a while.
No, that's good, man. That like just like reaching out to me, and I know other artists, like you said, And you see me at the wall. I'm more social, I guess, when there's more people around. It's not just me. But yeah, I can help you out with whatever you want to do. They say social media, everything is a distraction, but like you said, like nowadays it's a way how you can feed your family, and look at all these fools just coming up doing nothing, making money off of this shit. And I'm like, damn, I've been in this shit for almost 30 fucking years, and nobody even knows me, but people know me. You
Right.
know, like I ain't Instagram famous. I'm not this, but I know so many freaking people doing this throughout my life.
The real has recognized.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. It's like that, and think about how it's just like the technology and the media changes.
Mhm.
It's kind of the same hustle, right? Like, because when we were coming up, it would have been get featured in a DVD or
Oh yeah, I did.
get an interview in a magazine, and it's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing, you know. Like now it's blogs and it's social media, so it's the same kind of hustle, right? Somehow you got to find a way to break through, right? And I'll always think that like the quality of your art is gonna be the thing that's gonna make it work for you. You
Yeah.
know? And that's why you can't get distracted, right? Because if you're spending more time like scrolling than you are drawing in your book, that's wasted time, you know.
Well, have you seen those little posts I've been posting up on Instagram? I carry a little book in my pocket,
Okay, yeah.
and I work. Like if I got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I do little sketches in it, just Lobo some pieces in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then recently I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and I just have a composition notebook, and I did like 38 outlines in it. And then my
Right.
buddy was like, "God damn, how much?" And they all look different, but you could tell I did it. Remember what I was talking about, like that whole consistency. And
Yeah,
even though I'm not
yeah,
out there in
yeah.
the street every day, I draw every day.
Right.
It's annoying sometimes. You know, like I draw every day. That like my partners, like she's like, "Oh man, another book, another one." Or I just spend time in my garage. I got my little home studio, and I draw every day. Every day I draw. Every day I draw. Every day I draw. And I guess it's the whole thing with like doing graphs. Like I want to go out there and paint, but like you said, we got families, we got children to take care of, and responsibilities, and taking loans out against your 401k to pay your bills, and being stuck in this trap.
Right.
But then it's like I still got to draw. So I got my buddy that I've been putting on, and I'm always on his case. Like, yo, did you draw today? Did you draw? Are you drawing? And I
Right.
guess I'm kind of pushing him because he's younger than me, and I already lived through it, and he wants to experience. I'm like, yo, go paint. Come on, let's go paint. Let's go do this, do that. So I was fooling around with him last night. I was like, yo, all your scrap cans, I'll take them. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, all the half cans you got, the cans is almost empty. I'll take them all. Because every time he paint, he gets new paint to do that piece. And I'm taking people's scraps and I'm burning them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but in my mind, it's like it's a battle, you know? It's a friendly battle every time, but, you know, but I'm battling myself as well.
So you're hitting up that mentor role.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Different from the way I was mentored.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back then it was abusive. Now it was like, you know, yeah,
Yeah,
it was, you know. You know, now I'm like wax on, wax off, you know. And then before it was like Cobra Kai, like it was like you gotta do it this way, do it that way. You know, that's some toy shit. You don't do it this way, you're gonna get fucked up. You know. And now it's like I'm like, yeah, you know, like New York Fats. If you see my piece, most of the time when I outline with a fat cap.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the New York Fat pretty much for my whole piece, because by the time you do your outline, the paint is clogged up and it gives you a perfect little round circle.
Mm-hmm.
And these people were tripping that I got a fucking one finger outline, and I use a fat cap for my whole piece. So I buy them by the hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just hearing how they're discontinuing that one. That could just be rumor.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
could be rumor.
You
I
know how
seen
it goes
it.
with the internet is like people will get pissed and then they'll sell out and then they'll be like, well, maybe
No,
I'm
but-
not gonna retire.
But there's been a few caps already. I was talking to somebody painting at the wall, and one of the black pro liners went discontinued too.
Yeah, okay.
So like
We're in the
that's
supply chain
yeah.
collapse of the world. We're at the end of the world here.
So I
you
got.
gotta hoard your caps, man.
I know. Thank God they sell the cans of solvent now.
Uh huh.
Yeah. So you seen that day at the wall? I got the can of solvent, and I
Yeah.
just clear my caps out that way.
Well, I know you being next to me, you were like my mentor there, because it's like any new weapon, you know, you're gonna have to learn how to yield it. In the
Oh yeah,
right
like I
way.
was showing you how to get more pressure out of the can.
Yeah.
Remember, like when you squeeze
It's a
it
whole
when
new
it's
beast
almost.
for me. Like I said, I work really detailed
Yeah.
with like doing comic book style. And so to take that and try and put it on the wall, it's going to take a lot of can control that I'm going to have to learn. It's going to take knowing how to use the caps right and not get my shit clogged. Like all those little tips that you were just throwing my way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to learn them the hard way. That's why I was kind of glad that I kind of threw myself into the deep end and like maybe took off more than I could handle.
Well, I got lucky too. Freaking nobody uses like the old rust old fat caps anymore.
Right.
And then Demise gave me all that paint.
Mm-hmm.
And it was old Rustos with the old valve, and I was like, oh, so the new caps don't work on them. When you put them on, they just spill over.
Yeah.
So I was like, my buddy Toe was there. I was like, yo, you have a Rusto fat cap?
Right.
And he was the only one who had one.
Well, there you go.
So I used that one fat cap for my whole piece.
Breed.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I got so lucky.
Yeah,
And I really
there's
like
so much knowledge to be gained, and there's no shortcut. See, there's no shortcut to any of it. You got to figure it out yourself. And there you go.
And that too, you know, people think like I think about all this fancy paint, and it don't really matter.
Right.
You know, you could come with bucket paint, whitewash your name, and just do kind of blends and like, you know, if you were a master to your craft and you put your years and time into it, it's gonna look dope. You know, so if you look at my piece that day, my whole piece is all with Rust-Oleum, except for the outline.
Right.
And people's like, oh man, what color is that? That's great, boy. This is the fucking Rusto black, regular shit. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm still using, you can give me touching tones and garage paint and fucking car paint, whatever. And I'll make it work. You know, but I guess that's what, like you said, you know, I grew up with fucking, this is what my mother could afford to get me. And I made it work, you know?
What do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. For me, like, that's what the whole hip-hop movement represents, is like how to make something out of nothing, right?
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's nice. You know, like I still think like Molotov, the Belton paint is the best paint. Man, that stuff is smooth, like,
right.
You know, but when you see me painting that day, I only had like one can of Belton. You know, I was like, oh yeah, I ain't gonna fucking spend $10 for a fucking can of Belton. It's crazy.
Well,
that's why I did. That's why I need to get sponsors. So hopefully, with these videos, people be like, yo, give me some paint.
So for real, okay. So y'all heard, like, Lobo, he's ready for the opportunities, yo. So
yeah.
If we don't go much further, I think we covered a lot of ground. I think we should just call this part 1.
All right,
we'll
yeah.
get you back for part 2. And what I'll do is I want to go down to that wall and get some footage of your piece, and then we'll put that in at the end. So right about here, I'll probably just like start showing folks that last piece. And tell us a little bit, because I've already seen that you can do like tight graphic design stuff, and and you always throw in your patented characters. So how often do you do that? Do you throw in some characters?
Characters? If you've seen, like, every time I painted that wall, I painted the little characters in the background, too. Even though that last one, I was about to go over it. I was like, oh, it's looking too retro looking.
Too retro, yeah.
Yeah, because I had a couple of people be like, oh, man, y'all love your old school style. I'm like, what you mean old school style? Like, oh, man, this New York shit right here.
Right.
It was fucking,
well, like that Von Bodie.
I love Von Bodie.
Yeah, and then Mark Bodie, his son, like, he collaborated with my friend who does TOT Global. Yeah. Tools of the Trade. And so what he was doing, he was linking up with these big names and doing toys. So he had the Mike Giant Rollin' High dice that he did.
Oh, nice.
And then he did a Jeremy Fish dominoes set. And then Buff Monster playing cards. And so that was kind of cool to see, like, these kind of bigger name folks collaborating on actual, like, games and toys.
I would love to meet Mark Bodie, because not only does he do graph, it's the comic book stuff too.
That's right.
You know, with the whole freaking Miami Mice and like all those independent comic books. He was coming out, the black and white comic books in the '80s. Yeah. But that would be dope, just to sit down with that man and just see, like, his whole father's history.
Well, that's the reason that's why I brought it up is because my buddy, they did a puzzle, which was a piece that Von Bodie started, and then Mark Bodie like finished it up, and then I guess I'm pretty sure he's down in San Francisco. Yeah. Because I know he's got some pieces in those back alleys down there.
That'd be dope.
You spend much time in the Bay?
No, I
Yeah.
spend most of my time over here.
Up in the woods.
Yeah, up in
Humboldt
the
County.
woods.
By the way, folks, we're up in Humboldt County here with hazy smoke in the sky from all the forest fires
Yeah.
going on, and like it's a trip. It's a trip to wake up in the morning and the whole sky is red.
I love this place though.
Yeah.
You know, just like the 65-degree weather almost all year round, right? It rains for a few months, but in the middle of the summer right now, right?
It doesn't snow, but it doesn't get muggy and
It
hot.
doesn't snow, doesn't get muggy and hot. I can work in a long sleeve overnight. I'm not freezing my ass all year round. The rainy season is a little depressing at times, but you know, that's when you pull out your black book and start painting.
Yeah. All right, so onward and upward. We're gonna keep this show rolling, and I really thank Lobo for coming through and giving us the tour of his black book.
Hopefully,
we were thinking we would need to come up with a name for the show. I like this idea of clash culture because in so many ways art's like a battle, right? And a friendly battle, like you put it. You know,
it's a friendly battle,
it's
you know?
instead of knives and sticks and guns, you can go to battle with your poetry and with your art. And I think that that's what graffiti represents, is like a non-violent way to really flex your skills out in the streets.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, next time when you have me back on, I'm not as freaking nervous or whatever. I could talk more about. I got a lot of stories. You know, stories for days. You know,
you went past, I was like, we could probably talk for half an hour just about that.
I got
Tell us
stories.
about your times on the train yard. Tell us about where you've been. But I was going to end off my final question as an interviewer here is kind of like where you're headed in the future. Like what kind of like, you know, what kind of goals do you have like for the next few moves you want to make? Like, what are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go?
With what? With just graph in general? With just my art?
Graph in life, and like if you
Honestly, I want to leave a legacy for my kids. You know, like that's my whole goal now. Like I wanted fame when I was young, and I painted, and I had my fame, whatever, or street fame. And now that I get older, you know, I lost both my parents when I was in my 20s. And then it comes in my mind like, man, I'm going to be fucking dead one day too. You know, and then I want my parents to, you know, they worked their whole fucking lives and they died, you know? Like me, I want to work my whole fucking life and die and take care of my kids as well, but I want my kids and my grandkids to be like, damn, yo, my grandfather or me just in general, he was a badass motherfucker and traveled across the country, went up and down the East Coast doing bullshit, went to Canada, fucking painted, met all these fucking people from around the world. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, fucking, I just want to be remembered that way. I guess that's a fucking narcissistic fucking mentality we have of doing graph, you know? So if I'm not famous, like how these young guys are doing that shit now, I don't care about that no more. You know, I just want to leave my mark. So when my kids grow up, they be like, damn, yo, my fucking dad was a badass. The motherfucker been painted everywhere. They met all these people. It's really, yeah, pretty much for them now. It's not about me no more.
Well, you've definitely been doing it, and so it's been a real pleasure to get you on the record. Got it recorded. It's official. Put this one in the books. Lobo in the house. Okay, folks. Make sure you go check out Lobo. So you want them to hit you up online?
Well, we could figure that out for the next time, because I feel like next time I'll do a little better.
Okay.
And I still think we got to do something about, like how you was talking earlier about the black book.
Yeah.
Like, talk about, like, foundation and fucking why we do. Well, we already talked about why we do what we do.
Yeah, we can hone in on a particular aspect and really flesh it out for folks. Like, for me, I come from that. Like, I remember African Bombada, he's the one that talked about the 5 elements of hip-hop, right?
Yeah.
And when we think about the graph, we think about the breakdancing, we think about the turntablism, the MCs, it's like all one, and I think it's just like human beings have a nature to make something happen, right?
Always.
And that's what all we can do is kind of stand on the shoulders of greatness and then pass the torch on to the next generation.
And then especially like what's going on now, if you look at like social media, everybody's hating on each other and all this fucking hate crime this, hate crime that. When I was doing graph in New York in the 90s, I had friends of all kind of nationalities, all races. Mm-hmm. Like look right now, I'm Puerto Rican and I don't know what nationality you are, but crazy Scotsman, but at the end of the day, we're human.
Right.
And I kind of feel like with the whole hip hop shit, there's no boundaries. There's no fucking. The culture is hip hop. This is the art of hip hop, graffiti. You know, we're not seeing each other like, oh yeah, it's a white guy and I'm a fucking spick over here. You know, we don't see that shit. Right. It's all about the fucking music, the art. There's no. I don't know.
There's a common bond.
A common bond, yeah. I'm not trying to get all. I'm not trying to get all politician.
It's international. No, yeah. Look at man, the best beatbox battles happen in fucking in Japan and in Europe. They got them in Norway and Germany, like, all throughout the Eastern Bloc. It's like
when I went to
global.
When I went to Under Pressure, right in Canada, it was in Quebec. It was like, oh, we're gonna go to a rap battle. Went to the rap battle. Everything's in French. I don't know what the fuck these motherfuckers are saying to each other, but the energy was there.
Right.
You know, I was saluting this guy. Oh yeah, he fucking bust the other guy's ass, and I didn't even know a word that came out of his mouth. It was just the energy was there. It was good, you know. And I think that's what people need to focus on.
Yeah. So it's a global family, and we're gonna keep this thing going. And,
yes, sir.
And it is about respect, and like, you know, it's not that there are rules of the road to make people's life hard. It's just like making sure that people can stay true to the roots, and it's all love, it's all respect.
And I kind of like what that lady's doing, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she just be having people just chilling up in her shop. And
I want to get her on for an interview too, because everything they were doing for the last 20 years has been in that same vibe of just like artists who are down, getting together and making shit happen, you know? There's a whole crew up here, and we got Humboldt County. We got so much talent. Like if this show could be anything, it would be just to kind of showcase Humboldt County in the Northwest, and then connect with the greater art world. You know.
And you know what's good about this place? A lot of these people are transplants.
Oh yeah.
You know, so they bring in their culture from where they're from and their art experiences, and it's all like fusing over here. You know, so it's kind of like. Think about in the turn of the century where everybody just came to New York and all these different cultures, and putting everything together and people are fusing shit. Humboldt County is pretty much like that. There's a lot of local people, but a lot of the people I met, like artist-wise, like we're all transplanted from someplace else.
For real. California, I feel that vibe, and I've even heard that going back to the Native American times, it was like that. People, all the tribes ended up sending out like parties to go check out what's going on the West Coast, and then they would stay here and settle here. And so like forever, people have been always like chasing the sunset, right?
Yeah.
And you come here, we got the best sunsets in the world.
That's pretty much it. I always like this one too.
All right, the pieces are fire. We don't really have a good send-off, but all we can say is stay tuned, and we're going to be keeping this.
Thank you, Mongo, for having me here. Hopefully next time I get, more into my background and history about me. But, like I said, I'm still getting used to being an artist, and getting that mindset out of my mind that I'm a writer and like nobody ain't supposed to know who I am.
It just took the world time to catch up with you. That's all. Yeah. All right. Good luck, homie.
Thank you. Hopefully that was good enough.